Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at the 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLB 250 SUV. This SUV starts at around $40,000, however, with add-ons such as heated seats, with trim, that cost does add up. And without much talking, let's get straight into it. Here's the front end of the GLB 250. I've always liked Mercedes' big emblem styling. I think it makes the car look upscale. I like the classy looking grille, and overall the front looks very grown up and stylish enough. And here's the giant emblem. Here's a look at the headlights. They're very bright, just like any other modern luxury car's blinding LED lights, and they project very far out. They look good, but nothing super unique in my opinion. Here's how they look at night. Sorry for the lens flare, but again, these lights are blinding. I think the most interesting part of the GLB's design is these lines on the hood. I think they make the car look a little bit more aggressive, and because I like these lines, you're subjected to multiple B-rolls of them. The GLB 250 has standard heated and powered side mirrors, and this particular car has the optional power folding mirrors in the premium package, which costs you $1,750, and it comes with other premium features. Here are your 19-inch 10-spoke wheels with matte black accents, and they cost you an extra $800. Just like any other SUV, you have some plastic cladding on the bottom parts of the car, but Mercedes did add this chrome trim on the side skirts to let people know that this is luxury. And coming in standard up top is your aluminum roof rails. Here's a side view of the very boxy design. It looks kinda boring / generic, but the boxiness does help with headroom. Moving on to the rear end. Just like the front, the rear looks very proper. Taillights. They work well. You have these illuminating squares. Again, nothing too special. Actually, here's a little detail. You have these sharp edges at the very corner of the light, which is kind of cool. Here at the bottom, you have these chrome exhausts. Let's talk about cargo space. With the second row seats up, you have 22 cubic feet. With the second row down, you get a good 62 cubic feet. You also have this cargo cover storage situation here. It was kind of hard to get the cover out because it's really tucked in there, but nonetheless, it's a really nice solid cover. You also have a USB-C port back here, a hook to hook things, a net to store small things in, which this car stored the first aid kit and wheel locks, which by the way cost $160. By the way, while looking up how much the wheel locks cost on the GLB's build site, I found out that it costs you $700 to add second row airbags, which in my opinion should just be included in the car's cost. Anyway, if you have the optional third row, which costs $850, and you want to put it up, you first pull that rest string to release the seats, then you pull the black string to open the seat up. To fold the seats back down, you simply just pull the rest string again. And with the third row seats up, this is how much space you'll get. At least you'll be able to fit a backpack. I actually had to squeeze the backpack in order to close the hatch, but I made it work. While the hatch opens, you can limit how high the hatch opens by pressing stop. If you're short like me, you can even program how high the hatch opens every time. First, open it, press stop at the height you like, then hold the button until it beeps. You can also fully close the hatch by pressing the stop button. While the hatch is closing, you can also lock the car by pressing the lock button to the right. Alright, let's move on to the interior. Here is the steering wheel. It looks nice and feels nice, but it is on the thicker side for those with smaller hands. To the left up top, you have your gauge cluster controls, and at the bottom you have your cruise control settings. And to the right up top, you have your infotainment screen controls And at the bottom, you have your voice command, favorites, a volume scroller, and your phone button. And as you can see, we have some piano black materials here. This area is gonna get touched, you're gonna get fingerprints, it's gonna get dirty, so it's not ideal. And behind you got some paddle shifters, which is always nice and handy. And behind that, you have a single knob controlling turning signals and, strangely, windshield wipers. Normally, the wiper knob is on the right, but Mercedes replaced it with the shift knob. I wish Mercedes had put the wiper knob on the right and just added the shift knob above, like how the ID4 does it. Anyway, to put the car in drive, you push the knob down. To put the car in reverse, you push it up. And to park, you simply push the button on the right. And behind the shift knob, you have push button start as well as the eco start stop button, which allows you to turn on or off the temporary engine shut off function when your car comes into a full stop, such as stopping at the light. Moving on to the gauge cluster. You can actually scroll through the gauge cluster menus by swiping left, right, up, down here. The gauge cluster is very customizable and has lots of options. In the designs and display menu, you can choose between classic, sport, progressive, and understated for your display style. On the infotainment screen, you can also choose your interior themes, which stylizes the cabin with a combination of preset gauge cluster style, drive mode, and ambient lighting. Okay, moving on to the left of the steering wheel, you have your parking brake, your headlight controls, and gauge cluster dimmer. The parking brake works kind of opposite of what you normally know. To engage it, you push it down, and to release, you pull it up. Moving on to the door panel. Up top, you have some very nice stitching. Below, you have this natural grain walnut wood trim for $325. You have more wood trim here on the dash. Back on the wood trim on the door panel, you have your standard power front seats with 3-position memory. This particular SUV also has heated front seats, which costs you $500. And here's your lumbar support controls. You also have this thigh support cushion that you control using this lever. The seats themselves are more on the firm rather than cushiony side, and they're very supportive. I was hoping there's massaging seats, but instead you have this seat kinetics gimmick, which makes these micro seat adjustments once in a while to prevent you from feeling tired from sitting in the same position for a long time. Coming back to the door panel, one of the first things I noticed about this car is its flimsy and light door handle. I was caught by surprise because I thought Mercedes would make it more firm feeling. And here's your side mirror controls and your window switches, which are all automatic. Here's my 32-ounce water bottle fitment test, and it fits. However, the sun visor does not push back and it doesn't have an extender. Here's the 10.25-inch infotainment screen included in the premium package. Mercedes is almost forcing you to get this package because I think this standard 7-inch screen looks kinda ridiculous. I thought they would have a smaller screen overall, but instead they just made the display small and force you to have thick bezels. The infotainment itself is pretty easy to use. You just swipe through the menus and choose what you want to work on. I want to highlight the $310 64-color ambient lighting in this car. To use it, you go to Comfort, Ambient Lighting, Color, and here you can either customize the color or you can click multicolor and choose one of the preset color spectrums. One problem is that the vent lighting can block the side mirror view, but you can turn off the vent lighting in the brightness menu here. As you can see, you can lower the brightness under vents, and voila. And here is a showcase of the ambient lighting at night. Alright, moving on to climate controls. These vents are nice and very iconic of Mercedes, and I'm happy that we have physical climate control buttons. However, there is some information you need to control on the screen, such as temperature, airflow setting, and the fan speed. Moving down to the center console area, up front we have a storage cubby, which can be an add-on for wireless charging. Then we have a USB-C port and a cigarette port. Behind we got some cup holders. Let's see if it fits my water bottle. And it does not. And we have these tabs that flip out to let you hold smaller drinks. And moving down, we have this trackpad that allows you to control the infotainment screen, but I personally don't like it because it's kind of finicky. And next to it, you have some shortcut buttons such as the radio button. Next to the trackpad, you can toggle this dynamic switch to change your drive modes. For drive modes, you have individual, sport, comfort, and eco. To the right of the trackpad, you have this volume scroller and you can press down to mute your volume. Behind the trackpad, you have this block looking thing. Initially, I thought it was the shifter, but it's just the block that lets you rest your hand on when you're using the trackpad. And unfortunately, underneath this area is more piano black. Behind the block, we have the center console. It opens clamshell style with the click of the button, and I wish it closes with the button too. The storage itself is fairly deep, but it's pretty narrow. And inside, you have another USB-C port. Here's the decently sized glove box, and here's a little storage cubby in there. Up top is the optional $1,500 Panorama roof. It's pretty nice and big, though I wish the middle isn't disconnected. However, you can open it up and let air in. And now we're moving on to the second row. Let's talk about the second row seat comfort. I don't like how straight back you're sitting, and when I lean my head back, I don't get into this comfortable lounging position. Hello, it's Editing Jolie. You can actually adjust how reclined the seat back is, so you can find a comfortable position for yourself. And the seats themselves are also not as supportive as the front seats. And of course, you do have a lot of headroom. I'm short, but this car has really tall ceilings, so you're gonna be fine. And you have standard backseat armrests and cup holders, even though they look a little flimsy. But at least it extends nicely. You also have standard rear air vents. And since we have the premium package, we have the household type 115 volt power outlet. And you have 2 USB-C ports. Additionally, you also have rear reading lights. And you have manual sliding seat controls for the second row. And with that, let's see how the third row feels. My partner is sitting in a second row seat with the seat pushed most forward. And she has about 3 to 4 inches of leg room in front of her knees. And let's see how I fit in the third row with these seats pushed most forward. Alright, I'm in the third row. I really don't like this. In front of me, I have about 5 inches of leg room. I mean, leg room is fine on the right knee. On the left knee, my legs are like touching this middle part of the second row. Yeah, it barely fits me, so it won't fit anyone any bigger.
With the third row seats up, looking in the rear view mirror, you can see the person sitting in that row. And if there's a second person there, you'd also be seeing their face. There's a little bit of space between the 2 headrests, but besides that, your view is pretty much obstructed. And if you have kids and they're a little bit unruly with throwing things around, yeah, good luck with that.
In the back, you do have these cup holders here, which is pretty nice. Thank you, Mercedes. And keep in mind, we have this second row seat pushed most forward with a 5'3" person sitting there. If you have anyone bigger, nobody is gonna be happy. Alright, let's get out of this man cave. Not gonna lie, earlier when I did it, I almost hit my face against this wall in front of me. And that wraps up the interior portion. Let's move on to the driving impressions. Welcome to the driving impressions of the Mercedes GLB. My partner is going to be driving this car today because her personal Subaru Crosstrek is in the shop. In fact, my last video was the review of her Crosstrek. If you didn't see it, go ahead and check it out. I'll put it in the upper right corner for you to click. Getting on to an abrupt highway on-ramp. Ooh, I feel that torque going on. I can feel it really substantially because I have motion sickness, and when the torque happens, I'm like, oh, I feel a little sick.
For me, since I don't have motion sickness, it's just exhilarating.
How did getting onto the highway feel for you?
I like how smooth it is. It's really easy to accelerate. Very smooth, very easy. And here we go with our acceleration.
Oh, getting on that abrupt on-ramp again.
This car just flies. It picks up speed fast, and because it accelerates so well, like I was just going like 74. And I didn't mean to. Like, I just have my foot on the, the gas where I'm comfortable with it, and it's just going. So the acceleration was great. It's nice. It's stable. It's good. I feel like I am not worried about making it onto the freeway in time.
I feel like road noise in this car is definitely quieter than the Subaru, but I feel like it could be quieter. It's like kind of on par with my Mazda 3, if not a little better maybe, who knows, but very close.
One of the features I really like is the blind spot monitoring. It beeps at you, if there's somebody there and you have your turn signal on, it'll beep, so like, don't change lanes. Next car. So this truck's coming up, the red triangle's on.
Nice.
It beeps and blinks at you if you turn on your turn signal to change lanes. So always turn on your turn signals when you're merging. You should anyways, but the safety feature only works if you turn on your turn signal.
That's a good point.
Let's see how braking feels getting off the freeway. Not great.
What's wrong?
It's just so jolty. Like, I'm trying to go kind of smoothly, and then my car isn't braking fast enough, so that I'm like, okay, I really got to slow down now. So I press on the brake a little harder, and it just goes like, it feels like it's stuttering almost. There's like a tension to it, so you start to push it, and then it gets more tense, and you have to push harder to brake.
So you're saying the more you push it, the more tension there is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about ride quality. We're on some bumpy roads right now. How do you feel?
It's a little bumpy. It's kind of similar to my cross-track. Even though this is a really smooth ride, I can still feel the road a good amount, and I can also hear the road as equally. Like, as much as I can feel it, I can hear it.
I feel like the transmission doesn't shift smoothly in lower speeds.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We just went over a bump, and it felt very jolty. And like, I was trying to focus on braking better, and then I tried to brake a little harder, and it just jolted. It was weird.
An interesting thing is that you can see what speed or what gear you're in on the gauge cluster. It tells you while you're driving. We're heading into twisty roads in Paso, California. Do you feel safe going around these corners?
No.
Or grounded?
No.
No?
I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Why do you say that?
It just feels like the car is going to tip over. And it also feels like I have to turn the steering wheel a lot more than I think I'm going to. I feel like I'm doing these micro little recorrections, and adjustments. It's not as intuitive as I'm expecting. I feel like I'm sliding around a lot. When I go to turn, it's like, whoa, I'm on a roller coaster.
So you're feeling a lot of body roll?
Yeah. I am getting used to steering a little bit more. But you definitely have to turn the steering wheel more than you think you're going to.
Based on your experience, it sounds like this car has good acceleration, but not so great steering feel and braking feel.
Definitely.
Driving through everyday roads that are not so windy, though, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the visibility in this car? Starting with the windshield.
It could be bigger.
I agree. I think it's very small glass for this vehicle size.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe when you say that you feel like you're in a cave when you're in this car.
Yep.
Perhaps the small windshield size has to do with that.
Yeah.
What about the A-pillar?
A-pillar, this bad boy's in my way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like, if you're at a stoplight and you're trying to turn left, I kind of feel like I'm like, oh man.
You have to go forward. And
I have to go
look
forward.
around the A-pillar.
Yeah, that's a good description.
What about the B-pillar? Like when you turn your neck?
In terms of blind spot, it's all right. I would say backing up the B-pillar is a little bit of an issue. Creates more of a blind spot when I'm trying to back up. I think the back window overall could be bigger. It's also short.
I feel like for the boxiness of this car and like how tall the ceiling is, it's interesting that the glass is small. In everyday day-to-day driving, how do you feel overall living in it for the past week?
It's been fun to drive. It's a solid car, but I really don't like the braking, and I don't like how much body roll feel there is.
How was your first Mercedes experience?
There are some features of a luxury car that are fun. The seats are nice. They got nice lumbar support. There's a lot of elements you can change to the seat to make it extra comfortable.
What's your favorite thing about this car?
The acceleration, for sure.
What's your least favorite thing about this car?
The lack of visibility because of the size of the glass.
All right.
When you have to be so incredibly conscious about braking it just makes everything much more difficult.
This about wraps up the driving impressions of this car. Thanks for tuning in for this review of the Mercedes GLB 250. If you enjoyed this review, let us know, and let us know how I can improve. In the future, I will review the Volkswagen ID4, Subaru Outback, Mazda 3 perhaps, so stay tuned for more videos. See you in the next video.